It has been 10 months since the murders of 4 University of Idaho students gripped the nation and the school. Now the father of one of those victims is shedding some light on what happened that night. Steve Gonsalves says that there is evidence that his daughter, Kaylee, was trying to escape, but was trapped both by the attacker and another one of the victims. He made that comment for an upcoming 48-hour special. Meanwhile, the suspect in the murders, Bryan Kohberger, back in court this week as the judge considers whether or not to allow cameras during the trial. Joining us now on all of this is Tracy Walder, NewsNation contributor and former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
What are you tracking in terms of these new comments from Steve Gonsalves? It seems he's saying that his daughter fought back, even tried to escape. It is not part of the affidavit. So what are you tracking, and ultimately, could it make a difference to investigators in this trial?
The difference, I'm going to start with your last question first. The difference that it really could make is in pointing towards motive, because the reality is if they cannot prove a motive, it's going to be very difficult to build the case and put Bryan Kohberger kind of the why he was at the scene and why he would do something like this. And this really goes to what I sort of hypothesized. I think it was on your show early on when this all started, that I believed that unfortunately Maddie was probably the target because Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there, and Xana and Ethan, I believe, were probably killed last because they confronted him. And so this really speaks to the timeline. Again, why go up 3 flights of stairs? It's highly risky behavior, and I do believe that she was probably targeted. So I really think that this will help perhaps go towards motive.
I appreciate that. And what does that mean to be potentially trapped by the attacker and also another one of the victims? What are you reading into there?
What I think, and this is just in thinking about the layout of the room, if the bed was indeed sort of pushed, think about it as like an L shape up against a wall, what it would have meant is that Kaylee was kind of sleeping up against that wall, and Maddie would have been, kind of more towards the door of the room. So the attack potentially could have been on Maddie first. Kaylee probably stirred as a result of this attack and most likely sort of had nowhere to go, kind of became sandwiched in between the wall and in between Maddie.
Yeah, it's just horrific to talk about. I do want to ask about the trial. It does sound like the judge is leaning towards banning cameras, and this is despite the fact that 2 of the victims' families are emphatic that they do want cameras there. What do you think he will ultimately decide?
I agree with you. Just in everything I've seen so far, it seems that he's leaning towards banning cameras. I do think he actually took their wishes into account. And that was first when he asked the media to sort of back off Kohberger. He issued sort of a warning, Judge did. I think he feels that some media has not adhered to those warnings. And as a result, that then is superseding what the family is asking for because they are not operating within the perimeters that he set with that first warning.
And we're also seeing reports of the prison granting special requests to Kohberger at this time. So we're talking about vegan food, suits, access to a computer. Anything on that list unusual to you at this point?
No, but I get that it's really frustrating. We have this discussion in my criminal justice class with my students all the time. The reality is defendants have rights. Whether we like it or not, they are still innocent until proven guilty. Whether I think Kohberger is guilty or innocent truly doesn't matter, and he still has rights. He has not been convicted. However, he has been indicted. Therefore, he's in custody. However, they do have to adhere to the best of their abilities to his dietary standards. In terms of the suit, all he really has to do, all his attorneys have to do, quite frankly, is ask. Typically, that's done at trial because you don't want to bias a jury, and so you put the defendant into a suit. Not typically in these early hearings. That is a little unusual, but it's not that it's never been done before.
Yeah, and in terms of access to a computer, especially with his background as a PhD candidate in criminology, et cetera, what do you suspect he will be using it for during this time? And could it have any impact on the trial?
I don't believe that he probably has, I guess we could say, unfettered access to the internet, if you will. There's probably certain times of the day and certain sites that he's able to go on. I think what he's going to use it for, quite frankly, is for his own defense. I think he thinks he's smarter than most people, and I think that's probably what he's doing, is researching his defense.
Okay. Tracy Walder, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.